Do you want to be stuck in it forever? Or do you want to think, this is all bad, I don't want to touch it? No. I would say, for at least 30 to 40% of the human beings, it is only a passing thing within themselves. But because of social culture, they all believe they must go in that direction. There may be another 30-40 for whom it's a very compulsive need. Another 30-40% are medium, they're like, they need it but not so compulsively. This is the nature of the population. I'm saying this with certain absolute sense of perception about this. Gautam Buddha was not normal, nobody was normal except those who are on the pornography sites. It depends on how we shaped ourselves. If we become wonderful human beings, it's one thing. If we have become an ugly manifestation of humanity, definitely it's an original sin. It's a mistake. Sin is too strong a word, maybe it's a mistake. So too many mistakes are being made in the world, no question. You claim to appreciate or, well, you worship the one who is referred to as the creator, but you have a huge issue with the creation. If you do not appreciate the creation, why the hell should you worship the creator? Someone who made such a bad job of this, the only way you can even be born is through sin, I think he must be banished. Now, this is a fantastic device to keep people enslaved forever. If you do not even allow them to come to terms with their biology, they'll never come to terms with anything in their life. Always they will be dependent on an institution or a person or something who claims to have connections. An Italian mafia guy was once brought to the law court and he just walked in with this fat cigar in his hand, and like this he came and sat down like he's a guest. Then the judge looked at his arrogance and asked, "Do you have a lawyer?" He blew the smoke out and said, "Well, I got friends in the jury." So people who are supposed to have connections elsewhere, you will always be enslaved to them because you feel guilty about your biology. This whole thing goes into more grosser and grosser states. So except in certain cultures, everywhere else where dominant religious beliefs were spread, in all those cultures, unfortunately, they make you feel guilty of your very existence, because that way you will always be enslaved to whatever they have set up. Something so fundamental as the menstrual cycles in a woman, she has to feel guilty about it and she's impure. Her existence is impure. Unfortunately, I want you and all the teachers of the world to understand, if your mother did not have menstrual cycles, you wouldn't be born, even if she met your father. Yes. So the life-making material, unused, is what it is. And if that is impure, your very birth is impure, that's what they're anyway trying to tell you, that your birth is impure. And to cover this, there's a whole lot of other stories which I don't want to enter. Once you are not in terms with your own physical existence, you essentially will never ever be in terms with any other dimension of your life. This itself will cover you forever. This is a fantastic trick to keep you enslaved forever. No wonder institutions have lasted. Though they've lost their relevance, they stay, simply because your existence, your very existence, you're guilty of. If you're guilty of your very existence, that means one or that which is the source of creation should be even more guilty. You are eternally guilty, and that which has created all this must be even more carrying the burden of guilt. Guilt and fear have been a phenomenal tools to control populations, which has been successfully done for a long time. It's time this is broken. I thought marriage is a live-in relationship. So, isn't marriage a live-in relationship? Are they living separately? There are some marriages like that, I know, but first of all, we must understand why are we forming a relationship. Right now, this in your language, the West has seeped in too strongly in your language, because somewhere in your mind, if you utter the word relationship, you're only thinking about sex-based relationships. That's not how it's been in this country. When we say relationships, in this country, we thought we have a relationship with our parents, our friends, our brothers, our sisters, all kinds of relationships. But if you go in the West and you say a relationship, it means body-based relationship. First drop that idea. Relationships can be on many different levels, isn't it? Why are we making only one particular relationship so important against the other? Yes, it is also an important relationship, but not against the other, isn't it? But right now, slowly, we are building this Western ideology that this relationship versus the rest. It need not be so. The reason why in this country, marriages have been very stable, not always because two people are getting along great, not always. Because when they got married, a few thousand people got married along with them. Bride and the groom were a small aspect of the marriage. There are so many other people involved. Now if you have to break it, you have to break it on all levels, you can't break it. Your father and his father, or your father and her father may be having such a wonderful friendship, you can't break it now. Even if you want to break it with your wife, you can't break it because the whole family has joined up in so many ways. It's not just about two people. Is this good or bad? See, in the course of living together, people, today you got into some kind of situation in the evening, today you thought, this is it, I don't want to see your face again, finished. But tomorrow morning you're again in love. Hasn't this happened to you any number of times? Yes? If there is a whole lot of people around you, when that evening, when that feeling came that I don't want to see your face again, at that moment if you pack up and leave, it's finished. You can't come back tomorrow morning. But now there's a whole lot of situation that you can't leave. You stayed on, tomorrow morning everything is wonderful. Unfortunately, most human beings are still like this, isn't it? They can't be so aware and every day they can manage everything beautifully,
That's not how it's going, life, isn't it so? Ugly things happen, isn't it, in beautiful relationships? Don't they happen? Even in most beautiful relationships, ugly incidents are happening, isn't it so? To sustain those moments of ugliness, you need some support system. If there's just two idiots are there, they'll break. So, once children come, it gets a little more difficult. But before that, all the others are important. So, what is this new thing about live-in and marriage? So what you're saying is, I'll walk out whenever I feel like it, isn't it? That's not good for anybody. This is a huge load on human consciousness. There is no emotional security. I think United States of America, just recently, I was addressing a group of people just a week ago, and I was telling them, one big reason, they were talking about the economic meltdown, why are we not productive, why is it that this has happened? I said, one important thing is there's no emotional security for the man and the woman. You go out, when you come back, you don't know whether your home will be there or not. You don't know whether your wife will be waiting for you or not. This is there on most people's minds, at least 50% of the people's minds. With this level of insecurity, your husband goes to the office, you don't know whether he'll come back or go away with the secretary. When this emotional insecurity is there, you cannot focus on anything. People cannot be productive when there is no stable emotional situation for themselves. Here we fix the marriage in such a way, no matter what happens, you can't break this. It doesn't matter what stupid things you do, you still have to come back to that place. That gives a certain sense of security. There may be a lot of ugliness in the situation, but still there is a stability where you can focus on what you're doing. So, when you say marriage versus live-in, what is it? Uncommittedly you want to live in, that's all, isn't it? You don't want to live in a committed way. I don't think living in an uncommitted way together is a good thing, nor is there any… I'm not saying marriage means some pujari has to come and say a mantra for you, but it must be a committed relationship. If there is no commitment, there is no real sense of respect. When there is intimacy, there must also be respect for the other person's body, mind and everything, isn't it? When you say, I'm not committed to you, whenever I feel like it, I'll walk out, there is no sense of value and respect for the other person, isn't it? So marriage is not some fairy tale thing happening, nor is it happening in heaven. It is just a statement of commitment, that I'm with you, isn't it? If you're against commitment, no, I don't think that's a good thing to do. It will not bring the stability that you're seeking out of that relationship. If you're just looking for pleasure, it's up to you. But if you're looking for a stable situation, it takes commitment. Without commitment, there is no stable situation. So marriage is not performed by somebody. That is only for social reasons. Marriage is between two people that there is a sense of commitment, I'm with you, isn't it? Whether we actually go through a ceremony or do not go through a ceremony could be a choice, but I don't think there is a choice about whether we are committed to each other or not. Then you will never know the joy of being together. It'll always be a calculation, isn't it? It'll always be a calculation, isn't it? What can I get out of you, what can you… Once there is what can I get out of you, a relationship cannot be beautiful.
Your existence, you're actually a sexually transmitted disease, you know. It is the basics of life, you are born because of that, I'm saying. Not your sexuality, somebody else's. So, we are born out of that. Should we end with that? That's a question. It is not about right and wrong, it is not about morality. It is about the limited nature of what it is. Do you want to be stuck in it forever? Or do you want to think, this is all bad, I don't want to touch it? No. I would say, for at least 30 to 40% of the human beings, it is only a passing thing within themselves. But because of social culture, they all believe they must go in that direction. There may be another 30-40 for whom it's a very compulsive need. Another 30-40% are medium, they're like, they need it but not so compulsively. This is the nature of the population. I'm saying this with certain absolute sense of perception about this. Not everybody is on it all the time, but today society is cultivating them. Cultivating them like this, if you're not it, you're not normal. So, what you're essentially saying is, all the yogis of the past were not normal, Gautam Buddha was not normal, nobody was normal except those who are on the pornography sites. Nobody's normal. No, this is highly exaggerated sense of physicality. There is a physical body, it has come into existence only because of somebody's sexuality, isn't it? So, sex as a fundamental instinct in the body is one thing, it residing in your mind is another thing. That is happening because of a certain level of culture around you. That is happening because of somebody told you it is a sin, you should not think about it. It is just that there is a dignified way of conducting it. For that we created institutions, we created a certain level of commitment, because there is a fundamental need within a human being to conduct every aspect of our life with some sense of aesthetic, otherwise we will feel like animals. See, we eat. We can eat like this. When you're very hungry, you become like an animal. If you've not eaten for 5 days, you will eat like that with both hands. Like how… have you seen how a hungry dog will eat? Like that. A human being also will behave like that when the need becomes like that. Now, the same… but now we learn to sit properly. When you're very hungry, Sahana some brahmachari is showing you his lung power. You don't… on 3 ohms by the time he finishes Om. Because when something is very needed for you, just if you wait 2 minutes, you will see what is compulsive becomes conscious. Food, sex, sleep and death. These are 4 things which are compulsive. A human being distinguishes himself or herself from animal nature just by conducting these aspects of life also consciously. That is when, if you do these things like any other creature on the planet, the moment you see somebody like that, you say, "Oh, it's like animal, isn't it?" So, instinctually, there is a certain compulsiveness, but you have an intelligence which can make you conscious and conduct that aspect of life consciously. If you don't do that, then you see every day you're hearing about rapes and brutality and all kinds of things. It's the same desire he has that any other man has, but he cannot conduct it in an aesthetically correct way, in a dignified way, that his compulsions overtake his intelligence. So, first thing is, leave this nonsense about it being a sin, it being wrong, morality. That's not the point. The important thing to understand is the limited nature of what it is. There are many people who cannot stop eating. Hello? It's just a good thing about eating is, if you can't stop eating, it'll be immediately noticed by everybody who did not see you eating also. Similarly, there are some people with sexuality, there are some people who fall asleep wherever they are. Satsang is a good place. It's happening, it's okay. So, this is the fundamental thing. These basic instincts that we have in our bodies of food, sex, sleep and death, when you conduct these 4 things consciously, that is when you are a human being, including death, I'm saying. That is when you are a genuine human being. Otherwise, it's an evolutionary lapse. So what can I do, Sadhguru? It's evolution. No, that is the whole thing. Once you become a human being, evolution is by choice. Will you evolve or will you not? When you were a monkey, you did not choose to become human, but once you become a human being, what kind of human being do I want to be is your choice. At a certain moment of compulsion, you may think, I don't have choice. No, you have choice. You have not learned how to exercise that choice. Still instincts are there, but you can conduct it by choice, not by compulsion. That's the difference. All of you are born out of sex, but should you live for this for the rest of your life,
This is a choice. This is a choice. It is an element of your body, it is not the whole of it. It is an element of who you are, it is not the entirety of who you are. Essentially, it is a longing. What we long for can be transformed, isn't it? When you were a child, you were longing for a peppermint. As you grow up, you long for something else. Right now, you're a young adult, you're longing for something. But longings keep changing, isn't it? This longing, will it change by the compulsions of time, or will it change by choice, by conscious choice? It is not about you must give up this, you must give up that, you must become like this, you must become like that. There are also ways for that. That one who wants to transcend can transcend. It is not a giving up. If you transcend, you are free from everything. But the most important thing is, even when you're in it, are you a conscious choice or are you a compulsive animal? This is the thing, because the essential difference between a human being and animal is their instinctive reaction to life. We are a conscious response to life. Exercise that. It's all right, you don't have to feel guilty, you don't have to feel, oh, I'm sexually driven, so I'm not spiritual. You're driven, so you can make it into a spiritual process. Instead of being driven, if you become the driver, that is the spiritual process. You want to be driven by something or you want to be the driver? If you are the driver, that is the spiritual process. Just come on.